All right, Cam, I appreciate you being here with me, man. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Shane.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, just tell us a little bit. Who are you,
Yep,
and what do you do? You're a real estate agent, licensed realtor here.
I am. So I actually got my real estate agent license about 8 months ago now. And I was actually previously, I went to school to be an engineer, and I got an engineering job outside of college and realized it really wasn't the right fit for me. And I wanted to try something more entrepreneurial. So got my license, and it's been going good so far, besides the whole coronavirus situation here. Kind of put a pause to things, but hopefully we'll be back at it soon. So that's a little bit about my background.
And who are you with?
So I'm with Better Homes and Gardens.
Okay. You said you've done that for 8 months.
8 months, yeah. So I'm definitely newer, but I have a lot of good mentors in my office that kind of been following them around and trying to learn the ropes from them. But yeah, it's going good so far. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, and we talked about, you mentioned the coronavirus, right? So we're on lockdown, and
Yes, yeah.
everybody has to get a little creative during this time, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been tough, but I think being able to adapt to a bad situation is part of business in general. So you got to be able to do that.
Sure. Up front, you should be planning contingencies, right? For whatever might break your business. I mean, whatever might interrupt it or disrupt the income stream, regardless of the reason, you should have that built up front.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And you've gotten creative with a way to make a little side hustle. These virtual tours that you've got going online. Tell us about that. What started that? And that's
Yeah.
wild, man.
Yeah. So I started a little side business during this quarantine. I've been providing 3D virtual tours to real estate agents in the area who really need alternative methods to show their listings and get more attention for their homes. So these 3D virtual tours are a really good way to do that. So I decided to start a little business around it, and it's going good so far.
If you don't mind, I'll probably take maybe one of those tours and shoot a link into the show notes.
That'd be
way
awesome.
These guys can just kind of click on one and see what we're talking about. But it is it's fantastic, and it's something that obviously can be used, as we talk to investors that are long distance. I mean, that's a perfect way to really walk through a house that you're looking at in another state. And
Yeah,
that opens a lot of doors, I think.
it really is. And I think technology is going that way. And I think there's definitely going to be a lot of demand for it, even outside of the quarantine period that we're in. So I think it has a lot of potential going forward.
Sure. You're young, right? How old are you? You mind me asking?
I'm 24.
24. Okay. So you went to school to be an engineer. You went to engineering school at RIT.
RIT,
Is that right?
yeah.
Okay. Not to get real deep into it, but what changed from, okay, I've got my engineering job to I assume that had some potential high income with engineering.
It definitely did. And I started out with a pretty good salary right outside of school, but I really just wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing. The whole corporate environment wasn't really a good fit for me. And I knew this really halfway through college too, when I stumbled upon Bigger Pockets and learned about real estate and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really more of an entrepreneur, like deep down. And so I decided to test the engineering out. I didn't want to drop out of school. That's the last thing I wanted to do is quit. So I kind of just muscled through it and got a job and worked for a little bit. But really, once we got into this first house hack, I cut the cord with the job and went full time in real estate.
All right, that's a good lead in. So you are currently house hacking.
I am, yeah, I'm house hacking.
I mean, that's from what I understand, one of the best ways to begin this journey, begin this process, or at least it's something that I think everyone can do early on, at least when you're young. I mean, it might be tough for some of us with 5 kids, and tough to move them around a lot. And it's something that me and Ben Antonucci talked about as well. But I know that that you know Brett Iwanowitz. He was on the show, and he really dives deep into this. And I know that you guys have connected. Tell us about your house hack. What came across the idea, and how'd you find the house?
So yeah, so house hacking in general, for people who don't know, is it's a way of buying a property in a way that you can cover the living expenses, or sometimes even make a profit while you're living in the house. So the most traditional way, and the way that I'm currently doing, is buying a small multifamily property. So anything 1 to 4 units counts as a residential property, which you can get residential financing for, and low down payments and good interest rates. Um, so what you do is you live in one of the units. So I have a duplex, and me and my buddy are living in the top unit, and we're renting out the bottom unit, which almost completely covers our mortgage. So basically we're living for free.
Sure.
And that's kind of a summary of what house hacking is.
Okay. All right. And that's so far so good.
So far, so good. Yeah. So our mortgage payment every month is right around $1,200, and the tenants downstairs pay $1,100. So almost completely covers our payment, and we split the remaining, and it's allowing us to save a lot of money while we're living here, which we plan on using to buy more rentals in the future.
Okay. Separate from the house hack alone, you mentioned that because it's a 1 to 4 unit, is there a difference in the financing options of whether you're living there or not?
There is. So we got what's called an FHA, owner occupied loan, which is a common loan for first time home buyers who don't really have a lot to put down. So we only put down 3.5% to get into this, but the caveat is you do have to be living in the house. So that's just, the government preventing investors from using this loan to buy a bunch of rental properties. So you do have to live in it for at least a year, and then you're able to refinance out of the loan if you want, or keep it. But that is the one caveat to doing this.
Okay. All right. What is the next step then for you? I mean, is that the plan? Are you staying here for 12 months, refi, and going again?
So we're planning on staying here until at least November, which is when we bought it. And then probably looking for another duplex, either that, or doing another form of a house hack, which Brett talks about a lot, is the live and flip. So me and my girlfriend actually want to buy a fixer upper, live in the property while we're fixing it up, and then after 2 years, you can go and sell it for no capital gains taxes on the back end, since it's your primary residence, which is
Okay.
Another great way to cover your expenses while you're living there and live for free.
If you sold that before that 2 years, then you're taxed on that capital gain.
Then
correct?
you are taxed. I believe it's 2 years. Yep.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. And you've got you actually have a PDF. You put together a 14-page detailed PDF on your house hacking process, right?
I did, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it so far. I just wanted to put something together to bring value to people who are really trying to get into real estate investing, and just kind of sat down for a couple hours and wrote out my whole process of how I did it, and how people can repeat it if they want to do the same thing. And I actually just published it as an article on LinkedIn too. So
all right, I'll make sure your LinkedIn profile will be connected here to the show notes as well.
Yep.
Do you have real estate in your family? Is that how you found real estate? Why real estate in general?
I don't, and it's funny you asked that. My dad is actually one of 8, and they're all pretty much engineers in the family. So I kind of was following in his footsteps, and just kind of realized halfway through college that it wasn't really something I truly wanted to do. And then I stumbled upon biggerpockets.com, which both of us are very familiar with that
Absolutely.
website. Started listening to the podcast and crazy, and reading the books, and decided that it was the route that I wanted to take.
Very cool. What's the next step? I mean, you're going to go maybe do a live and flip.
Yeah.
But what does the next 5 years look for you? look like for you?
So me and my buddy who I bought this house hack with, wanna partner on most of the deals going forward. And we want to do the Burr method. I'm sure you're familiar with it. But for people who aren't, the Burr method is a way of buying properties in a way that you can put your cash in, fix it up, but then refinance on the back end and pull that cash back out so you can recycle that money and quickly buy more properties with it. So I think that's our plan going forward. We're just going to keep repeating the process and see where it takes us.
Very cool. That seems like a good plan. Bigger pockets. It's funny. That was the very first thing I found as well. And I wasn't looking for real estate, right? I was looking at how do I get more time in my life? What is financial freedom? How do people, and it just, everything seemed to somehow one way or another funnel towards real estate.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of people started there with those guys. They inspired me to do this podcast. I felt like they gave so much value and there was so much information that just helped kind of get me stepped in the right direction. I thought this was a good idea.
It's great because Bigger Pockets is awesome for learning the fundamentals of real estate, but something like what you're doing with a local podcast, with a local market, I think is extremely valuable to people who are trying to get started in the Rochester area. Learning the areas, you could be on one side of a street and it could be completely good to invest in, but then the other side might be a total war zone. So I think listening to what people have done in this market and how they've successfully invested is it's going to help a lot of people, what you're doing on this podcast.
That's cool, man. I appreciate it. And you, as a realtor / investor, right? What areas are you looking in when you're looking for deals, when you're marketing, when you're farming? Where's your hot spots?
So right now, so we're in Charlotte. That's where our house hack is. I think Charlotte's a really underrated area over here. I don't hear a lot of investors buying rentals over here, but it is considered in the city. So you do have city taxes, which they're cheaper. And you're right by the lake with all the amenities down there, Bill Gray's and Abbott's and everything. So I think we're going to really focus on this area going forward. We've been driving for dollars around here. And that's kind of been our main area.
Is that your main source of marketing? Is that how you're finding deals right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't done a ton of marketing, just kind of driving around. I'm still a newbie investor, so still getting my feet wet with everything. But I think that driving around is probably the best way to get started with identifying where possible deals are. It doesn't cost anything to get in your car besides a little gas money, but it'll help you get really familiar with the streets and the good areas and the bad areas. So that's really all we've been doing in terms of marketing so far.
Has it helped to have let me rephrase that. I know it's helped. Do you recommend that investors get a real estate license?
It definitely does help having access to the MLS. And I actually got my license at the same time when I was applying for engineering jobs because I knew that I would eventually probably take that route. Okay. So I got my license for the reason of having access to the MLS and using it as an investor versus an actual real estate agent. And then slowly transitioned into sales and used it for what it's really meant for. I think it is a really, really great tool for investors to have, but you can certainly do fine without it as long as you find an investor-friendly realtor in your area.
Which you'd consider yourself one, I assume, yes?
I would consider myself
you're an investor-friendly agent, right? That's a big thing. I see that question all the time. Does anybody know any investor-friendly agents? Yeah. Not just regular agents, but the investor-friendly ones. So I assume being, the investor / agent yourself, then you understand both sides of that coin and the similar goals that maybe another investor would have.
I like to say I do, yes.
Okay. How are you finding buyers? Like, do you list houses or you just represent sellers on the agent side of things?
Yeah, I'm on both sides, as most agents are. They help with buying and selling. Most of my leads right now have really come from social media. I have a pretty big presence on Facebook and LinkedIn. I've had a couple people reach out to me through there. And then as well as just Zillow leads coming in. Our brokerage pays for those, so I get calls every so often. Just a kind of a mixture of things. The biggest thing with being an agent is telling everybody that you're a real estate agent, and bringing it up in conversation, and building a brand for yourself, which is really what I'm trying to do as a beginner agent right now.
I think you're doing a good job. I mean, you definitely seem like you're out there, and what you put out there is valuable. I think you're putting some good information and you're across multiple platforms, which I think is important, right? Because you don't know where your audience is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Couple of questions here, man. I'm going to wrap up with it and let you get out of here.
Sure.
We're not going to go into the deal, but what's the best advice up to this point that you've received, and why?
Best advice up to this point. I think in terms of real estate, there's a lot of good advice on the Bigger Pockets podcast that Brandon Turner and David Green at the end of their podcast give. And I think the one question they always ask is what separates successful investors from those who aren't successful.
Give up, fail, and don't succeed at all. Sure.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing with that is being consistent. You really need to be consistent with your efforts, and not giving up after the first cold call that doesn't go right, or anything else that goes wrong. I think it's having the grit to just push through and continue to try to accomplish whatever you're accomplishing. It's just having that effort and putting it forward every day. It'll eventually pay off.
Very cool. Are you a reader? Do you read books?
I do. I read a lot of books.
Yeah. Either what are you reading now, or do you have an all-time favorite book recommendation?
All-time favorite, I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think that's a great book, not just real estate related, but business, life. It teaches you how to deal with people, the human psychology, and really how to navigate your way through life. I think I read that book every year, actually, just to refresh my memory. But I am a big reader. Yeah, it is. But I think
I actually listened to that book. I had the Audible on that, so I listened to that a couple of times. I think it was like an 8.5 hour listen. It took a while.
It's a good one though, and I think it's definitely worth it.
How can people get a hold of you, buddy? How do you want them to reach out to you? Because I know a lot of these guys are going to want that 14-page PDF. So I know it's on your profile, but they want to reach out. They have questions. How do they reach you?
Yeah, you can find me. Best way is probably LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active right now. And you could find that article right in the featured section of my LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram at CamVank. And then I'm also on Bigger Pockets as Cam Vankerkhove. So if anyone has any questions about getting started, you can feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help new investors.
And you're an investor-friendly agent.
And I am the investor-friendly agent.
Yes, you are. You are what everyone is looking for, right? So we found him for you. Absolutely, man. Well, listen, you did a great job. I appreciate you spending time with me here today. We're wrapped up. All right, man. You have a good day. We'll talk to you. Thanks, Cam.
See you.